Stop playing like you hate SR in Black Ops 6 rank play. That is ultimately the goal of rank play, is to get more SR. So why are you guys actively doing things that will make you lose SR? Let's talk about a few things that you should definitely stop doing if you don't hate SR in Black Ops 6 rank play. Let's get right into it. First things first, ignoring the objective. We get it. Kills in Call of Duty is something we all obsess over. That dopamine hit after we get a kill, a 3-piece, a bloodthirsty, whatever the case is. I know all that feels great, and it's kind of one of the main reasons why all of us play Call of Duty. But focusing solely on kills while neglecting objectives like capturing zones or planting bombs can hurt your SR. The system does reward objective-based gameplay. Now in respawn game modes, I do not care who you are, I don't care what role you call yourself playing on your team, you need some damn objective points. Now search and destroy is a little more situational. I think that game mode is an exception, but as far as hardpoint and control, everyone should be contributing to the OBJ just like they are contributing to kills on the board. So stop neglecting the objective. Next, solo queuing recklessly. This one is tough. I understand not everyone has a full squad to run with, but after a certain point, solo queuing gets very difficult. I'm not saying it can't be done. I'm just trying to make everyone's lives easier here. Sometimes when you're solo queuing, it can feel like a 1v7. I know you know what I'm talking about. While solo queuing can work in situations, it often leads to mismatched team dynamics and just a lot of headaches to keep it a stack. At least try and pick up one of your buddies if anything. At least one. Obviously, a full stack with players you know are pretty decent players is the best option. I'll tell you what though, if you must solo queue, make sure you're on SR loss protection. Then go ahead and play until you lose, but ultimately, playing with the squad is always the best answer. Next, overextending. Now, this doesn't just mean playing too fast. This can literally be exposing yourself to one of more sightlines at a time. Now, it isn't possible to completely isolate angles and sightlines all of the time, but in a lot of situations, you can control this, especially if you iron out certain plays with the squad. It can be something as small as challenging someone on top P3 on protocol, but instead of staying as close to the grandma building as possible, you stand in between top tower or lighthouse, whatever you call it, and grandma, damn near in the open. At that point, you are exposed to almost 3 or 4 sight lines, probably even more. If you feel like you absolutely have to overextend, practice throwing shoulders. Mainly for intel though. You go ahead, get the intel after throwing your shoulder, and then making an adjustment from there. Next, this is my favorite one right here, blaming your teammates. Shitty behavior or blaming your teammates can definitely demoralize the team dynamic and lead to poor performance out of everyone, not just the 1 or 2 people that you're saying are costing you the game. I will say, if you are solo queuing with at least 1 or 2 randoms, you may or may not have signed up for getting queued with a bird brain teammate. You have to understand that. And if you're getting that annoyed, it's time to try and find a couple more friends to play with, mainly so you can avoid that problem. Now, if you do have a teammate that you still think may be underperforming, instead of clowning them, simply ask them how you and your other teammates can help their performance. Take that approach and then go from there. But blaming, whining, complaining, that does nothing for anyone. Try to pick everybody's face up and focus on what you can control. Next, playing without warming up. Now hear me out. I'm super guilty of this, by the way. A lot of times I'll get into the first rank play game of the day, did not shoot one bot, did not shoot one dummy in the firing range, did not shoot one online player before jumping in a rank play. And the excuse that I would always have for myself is, it's an SR loss protection game, it's not a big deal. This is something that I need to stop doing. The SR loss protection is so much more important than a lot of us realize when it comes to SR. We kind of take it for granted, if that makes sense. If you get warm in any way, whether it be shooting dummies in the range or just running around team deathmatch for a while, all of that is enough to get you warmed up. Do not call your first rank play game the warm-up. You want to keep that SR loss protection as long as you possibly can. So yes, warm up beforehand and do not treat the first game like a warm-up. You will thank me later. Next, misusing kill streaks. I don't think this gets talked about enough. And again, I'm calling myself out here. You have to use your brain when you are using your streaks. But this could mean a couple of things. Let's say in search and destroy, you call in the RC car. I highly recommend having one teammate watch over your body, because obviously when you are in that streak, you're out of the play and the teammates are looking for your body as a free kill. So if you want to at least have one of your teammates watch over your body, or at least play for a trade, that can definitely help you out in a situation like this. I do highly recommend that. And let's say you get a cruise missile. It can be a reaction for us to use this streak right away, because traditionally in Call of Duty, we've all kind of essentially done that. But 2 things here. Save the streak for when you think the enemy team is catching up, or maybe you're losing the game and you're starting to think that things are getting out of reach. And another example is, let's say if you and your teammates go 3 dead on the objective, this is a pretty effective way to stop that enemy team's momentum. You might not kill them all, but depending on the hill, they will scatter like maggots. And let's not be trying to use a cruise missile during P4 on protocol. But calling in a streak too late can cost you as well. Try not to hesitate and go ahead and use the cruise about 1 or 2 seconds before you think you need to. Next, neglecting communication. This one is so basic, and I cannot believe people who are playing rank play are not calling out enemy positions and having teammates muted, whatever the silly shit that is happening. Why are we botching our ability to communicate? Anyways, yes, we want to go ahead and call out enemy positions and whereabouts, something I've been doing more in Black Ops 6 than any other COD, letting my teammates know exactly where I am, exactly what sideline I'm holding, etc. That way, me and my teammates aren't assigned the same task, essentially. In this same point, it is super important to pay close attention to the minimap. That way, you can see what direction your enemies are facing and you can pick up a different lane if it so happens that they can't communicate it for you for whatever reason. But the most important part of communication is listening. It can be easy to get caught up in your own comms, but it is super important to listen to what your teammates are saying, assuming that they're giving adequate comms as well. I can beat the communication point into the ground, but I know you guys get it by now. Next, sticking to one play style. Being too rigid in your one play style, like always playing aggressively, can limit your adaptability, so learn to adjust based on the situation. Maybe you usually call yourself a slayer. Just because you call yourself a slayer doesn't mean you are allergic to the objective. Fill in the gaps where they are lacking instead of having this "that's not my job" type attitude. And it's fine, you can run around and drop 60 kills, but if you lose a game and lose SR with it, that's your fault. And this goes for weapons as well, sticking to one weapon. Maybe you only use the aims and you never even thought about trying to use a submachine gun. I promise you are doing yourself more harm than good. For example, myself on protocol, in most situations at P1 and P2, I am running an AR, typically playing a bit slower on those hills. And as far as P3 and P4, I'm using a submachine gun because I think that's what makes things most effective for my team. And there are some players that only want to keep their distance and pick enemies off from afar. That's fine, but you need to know when to switch it up and do what's best for your team. Next, mismanaging resources in search and destroy. What I mean by this is lethals and tacticals and even trophy systems. In S&D, managing your entire team's economy is just as important as clutching a 1v3, not just yours. Imagine all 4 of you throw nades and stuns at the start of the round and you didn't even get a kill or any intel. You literally just wasted all of your resources. Overspending on grenades or tossing out utility like it's a fireworks show can leave your team strapped for cash when it counts. Save your resources for those high stakes moments where they can turn the tide. Maybe the A-bomb is planted on protocol, you know the enemy is close, you throw a nade here, you throw a flash there, and now you have some kind of intel. Remember, a well-timed stun can be worth more than a dozen reckless throws that don't get you anything in return. Keep your cool and keep your wallet intact. A little restraint now can mean a big payoff later, and your team will thank you and the scoreboard will reflect it. And last but not least, tunnel vision is your worst enemy, I promise you. Focusing too much on one target or the objective might feel like you're nailing the mission, but in reality, it can leave you blind to what's actually happening around you. And that's the fast track to getting caught off guard. Just headbanging the objective, not checking corners, not ironing up choke points, that kind of stuff will get you smoked. Rank play is about reading the map and trying to stay one step ahead of the competition. Tunnel vision can have you missing flanks and a whole lot of other information that you can 100% pick up if you just slow down a minute. This is one of the main things that cost you, I promise. Every great player knows the best plays happen when you see the bigger picture. Plus, who needs tunnel vision when peripheral vision is basically your superpower? That being said, if you guys have anything to add, do not hesitate to drop everything down in the comment section. If you dug the video, consider subscribing, and I'll drop 2 more videos for you on the screen right here. Catch you on the next one.